rebar, gravel, whatever finds its way into this bucket. Get this block wall out of the way so they can start demoing more of the wooden center section. They're doing this by hand, the demo, to try to keep it a little more contained. And then there's some utilities bridging between the two buildings they want to kind of keep intact for the time being until they figure out exactly what goes where in this building, because that looks like some massive electrical conduit up there. Well as this was heated with radiators, so there's probably some radiator lines up in there. The good thing, most of this has been sorted, so it looks like there's a chunk of metal right there, but most all of this I'm grabbing is just block and brick and rebar mixed in. They've done a pretty good job doing this by hand. It's obviously a lot easier to separate, giving you touch every single piece of it. Common sense, but the bigger class machine, even though it's still a 3-foot bucket, it's got a lot larger capacity than like the 305.5 or the 305s. I think they use the same bucket. I had one of those before that machine. That's the one thing I like about this. I mean, you've got when you're scooping, you've got a lot more capacity in that bucket, especially when you're loading out. Machine is doing really well on this job. I'm really liking it so far. Of course, it's got 9.1 hours, so it's still a baby. But I mean, it does a fine job. It's tons of power. I mean, it's none of this stuff's even gonna make it sweat. These buckets are, heaping bucketfuls. I've never really weighed the difference in like a bucket of, say, wet red clay, which is what we have here is red clay. Predominantly, I mean, we have some shell and some topsoil and stuff. Whether it be heavier with the brick and rock or the dirt. Either way, I wouldn't want to have to shovel it. This machine is, it's been a winner so far as far as I can tell. And I reckon I pretty much bought it now, considering this bucket probably won't have a lick of paint left on it after this joint. It actually loads pretty quick. I mean, I've loaded this truck with a 323. That machine, you're looking about 12 scoops at most. The 305, I mean, you're just scooping and scooping and scooping and scooping. Where this one is, it's in between, obviously. It'd be kind of an in-between machine. You really can't argue. I mean, it does a fine job. I'm not really seeing whether the teeth would actually hit the blade in the front when you're digging yet. I know some of these, when you put a quick connect on it, it kind of kicks that bucket out a little bit, and so the teeth will actually catch that push blade in the front. So I'm not sure if it's right there or not, but I'm sure I'll figure it out here pretty soon. I think we're actually loaded in. Be a little bit of room at the front. Well, the only bad things about loading from the ground, I mean, you really can't, even with this size machine, you really can't see into the bed of the truck. So, you know, it's always nice to load from an elevated position, but I really don't want to, being a new machine, don't want to really get stuff chopped up on these new tracks with the rubber boots, you know, walking on brick and concrete, because it's never easy on stuff like that. Although it's going to happen, obviously, at some point. It's interesting to see when you tear something like this down, kind of how it was built. Some of these bricks, like that one right down there, is hollow. And it's not even like a traditional brick. It's almost, it's unusual. It's not like a brick like you normally think. But like I said, this church was, I forget what the sign was on the front of it. I'm not sure if it was 1901 or, and this structure in front of me right here was the whole section. And it was pretty much predominantly wood in there, as you can tell, but then it was added on to, and some massive I-beams put up in there at some point. It may have been during the original construction, or I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure the history of the build of it, but when you take one down, you can kind of speculate what went on. So what I do, kind of how I guesstimate where I'm at, I mean, I just try to put a bucket in it, and you see where it stops, so that's pretty much up to the sides. That's plenty. There's probably more scientific ways to do it, but that's kind of a common sense approach, I think.